and welcome back to another edition of the SAB Video Newsletter, Week 4 to Week 5 edition. Very interesting week. We've only saw two really close games. The rest we're not really in contention. The Models, congratulations to you on your first victory of the season, defeating my Jopatown Jaguars by about 8 and change. Very good, very nice for you. The Underhill account outlast the Funk by 2 and change in a huge victory for them. Tough loss for the Funk. And all the other games were not close, not really close. Congratulations to the Waffles on this week's high score of 150 and change, putting them at number 2 on the season for highest score. Don't forget, those high weeks are $50 each. There's been 4 weeks, 4 separate winners. So come into the year, take all your high weeks and multiply it by 50, and that's how much money you're getting. At least that's how much money you're getting back at the end of the year. So that's nothing. That's a nice little treat at the end. So let's get to our Week 4 commissions poll. Our top 2 teams remain the same. Undefeated Tough Nuts, 4-0-0, number 1 since the preseason, have not budged, and they don't look like they're moving anytime soon. So watch out for this team. Watch out for this team. Now, number 2, the Steakhouse remained at number 2, proving their dramatic rise in the polls after last week's performance, setting up a game of the week this week between Tough Nuts and Steakhouse, the number 1 versus number 2 team there in the Knox. A huge statement game, a huge test for Tough Nuts, a huge test for the Steakhouses, a huge game for both of them. Because you never know, this game right here in the division could actually determine the division come the end of the year, but they will get another shot at each other in week 13. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on. But they start here in week 5. At number 3, the Waffles move back up into the top 3, 3-1-0 after a nice impressive victory. The Wreckers, same, 3-1-0, looking good this year. Another high score for them. They move up to number 4. Tuna quickly on the rise at 2-2-0 after starting 0-2, or back in the top 5. TPC has dropped from 3 to 6 at 2-2 after losing their second straight game. They are still in the mix, but they're going to have to turn this thing around quick if they want to stay up there, even stay in playoff contention, as they quickly can fade in the Knox. So keep an eye on that one. The Jaguars, Jopatown Jaguars, down to 7 from 4. They are hanging on by a thread because they are having trouble scoring. They have not gotten over 110 this year, and the scoring has just not been there. The Funk move up after a tough close loss to the Underhill account. They move up to 10. They move up to 8 from 10 and 1-3-0. So still a tough climb for them, but at least they're scoring. The 40 move down from 8 to 9 at 1-3-0. Not looking good for them. Barco and his Thunder move down to number 10 after the sub 100 performance this week. And as we see, they put the entire team on the trade market. So keep an eye on those. When Barco gets itchy, we can start seeing some moves. And number 11, the Models. Congrats to you again on your first win. And you moved out of the number 12 spot for the first time since the preseason. So good job there. And at number 12, a team that we're not used to seeing down this low, a team that usually is in the top 6 and in contention for a division title, is the Crack Liberty Bells at 1-3-0, dropping from 11 to 12. Mr. Shaw is going to have to turn this thing around quick if he hopes to make a run here. So that's our Week 4 commissions poll. Like I said, a little bit of movement there. Top 2 teams remain the same. Now, moving on to our Bear on Cocaine winner for Week 4. It was a very tough decision this week. As most of you know, if you were paying attention, you saw Deshaun Watson, what he did for Lender and Underhill, and you saw what Greg Zuerlein did for the Wreckers. Zuerlein hit 7 field goals, scoring 29.3 points. That's an amazing day for a kicker. I don't know if we've ever even seen a kicker do that high. I remember Bailey doing something crazy like that once, but I'm not sure he even got that high. And we saw Prater last week, who won the Bear on Cocaine with the 20-point effort. But Deshaun Watson was also pretty nasty, so it's tough. It's not always the highest score. It's got to be the most impressive guy who helped his team, win. This was a very tough decision. It's kind of like the MVP in a sport where you just don't know. It's not necessarily the best player, but it's the guy who just couldn't win without him. So it's tough. But I will let Coach Steve Mariucci tell you who our Week 4 Bear on Cocaine winner is.
do a highlight film of this guy, right? And it was like, I pulled out about 14 plays because this guy's a human highlight reel. So let me tell you, I got to know this kid in the Under Armour All-American game when he was coming out of high school, all right? All right, watch how versatile this guy is. This is down the goal line. He's going to run from pistol. Speed option left. He's going to read Brian Arakpo, and he's going to, if he takes me, I'm pitching it. If he doesn't, I'm going to score a touchdown. Stick him, throw it in there. I used to do this in college. Lamar Miller, touchdown. That was too easy. Now, play action, okay? When you run the ball and you run zone read, you got your play action package. Stick it in there, and here we go. When you do this safety better get involved in his run fits, okay? Come on up and take dive or quarterback, and when you do that, you're going to leave the middle open. Look at DeAndre Hopkins right here. Pow! 8-yard touchdown. That was too easy. All right, now, get him in the red zone, and once in a while, you want to maximum protect. Look at this wall right here. Everybody's got, he can step into this throw. It's only a two-man rush. We're going to cross Will Fuller and Hopkins right here, all right, against coverage. But that's just a two-man run against 7 guys in coverage. But watch the throw up and over the top of the flat defender. This is perfectly thrown into Will Fuller. Welcome back, Will. He runs about a 4.3. Boy, oh boy. And you know what? Deshaun Watson, 5 touchdowns, 4 passing, 1 running. That ties a rookie NFL record that was set by Fran Tarkington. That was before you were born in 1961. Okay. Congratulations, Deshaun Watson.
And thank you, Coach Mariucci, for that breakdown of this week's Baron Cocaine winner, Deshaun Watson, quarterback for the Underhill account, who was just completely amazing. If you watch those highlights, and if you even look up just some of his game film, I mean, the arm on this kid is incredible. So good job there, Watson. A nice win for Lender. Tough break for Zerline, though, because he was definitely a close second, if not even the co, but we like to give it to one guy. So moving on to our Minuteman Award winner. As you guys know, this goes to the lamest performance of the week. It's somebody who was drafted really high for a team with a lot of expectation and just did not perform this week. I couldn't really find any highlights for this week's winner, and I just didn't feel like it was just too. I was searching for like 5 minutes already. I just didn't feel like searching anymore. But there were 5 guys that I thought were worthy this week. DeMarco Murray for the Jaguars, Marshawn Lynch for People's Champ, T.Y. Hilton for the People's Champ, Amari Cooper, and Jay Ajayi. Now, all these guys underperformed for their teams in their contributing to their team's loss. I gave it to the guy who I thought really hurt his team the most in the closest game. The award goes to DeMarco Murray for the Jopatown Jaguars with his 4.5 points on 31 rushing yards and 2 receptions for 4 receiving yards. Wasn't the worst performance of the week, but definitely contributed to the 8 and change point loss for the Jaguars. A good game from him, and they could have won. So he deserves it. Now, looking at the rest of these guys, Marshawn Lynch scored under 2 points. Amari Cooper scored under 2 points again. I feel like every week he gets 1.9. And if you were going to give an award for the Minuteman for the first 4 weeks, it probably would go to Amari Cooper, who has just not done anything for the Thunder. And the Thunder are 1-3. If this guy was playing well, he could be 3-1. It's tough, but his game wasn't really close, so it was hard to give it to him. So DeMarco Murray is our Week 4 Minuteman Award winner. Good job, buddy. So that's it for our awards. It was, like I said earlier, it was an interesting week. Bunch of teams at 3-1, 3 teams at 3-1, and 1 undefeated. Waivers ran last night. It was an interesting group there. It was a bunch of running backs available. Surprisingly, our number 1 waiver pick, Mark Shaw, did not make a move. Even with Ty Montgomery a little banged up, you would have thought he might have went for Aaron Jones there, looking good in the replacing Montgomery, or even Latavius Murray, somebody. I was worried because I was number 2, because I wanted Murray, but I would have taken either of those guys. I figured Shaw was definitely going to jump on Jones there, but he did not make a move, and he stays at that number 1 spot. So, you would hope that this is some type of strategy for him, or did he just forget and not make a move when he probably needed to? Gonna have to ask Mr. Shaw, but at 1-3 at number 12, he's going to need a lot of help, probably more than Aaron Jones. So that pretty much does it for this midweek, Week 4 to Week 5 edition. Guess we'll just go over the next week's games here. We got some cool matchups. It's another division week. Big week 5 is a division week, so don't forget these are huge games. As we said before, our game of the week coming out of the Knox is going to be number 1 Tough Nuts at 4-0 versus number 2 Steakhouse at 3-1-0. Huge game in the Knox, huge. This can determine in the end who's going to be there, and they'll meet again in week 13. All your opponents this week, we will play again in week 13. So division week in week 13 is obviously the biggest week because you're hoping at week 13 that those games actually are basically division championship games. Winner wins it. You know, those are always the best. Those are awesome because it's like a week 13 early playoff matchup. So next week we have People's Champ versus the Wreckers in the Knox. Joe Patown versus the Thunder. Always a close, competitive, nice little rivalry there in the Hartwick. The Bells and the 40, both teams at 1-3-0. It's going to be good for the winner there. The loser is going to be in a lot of trouble. So hopefully, they both come ready to play. The Waffles versus the Funk, another nice Hartwick rivalry there. Funk in desperate need of a win. Waffles looking to go to 4-1. And the Models coming off their first victory of the season will go against Tuna, who's on the 2-game winning streak. So some good division matchups next week in division week. So again, make sure you guys pick up all the players you want to pick up. If you need to make a waiver claim, do it. Don't sleep on it. If you need help with your lineups, let me know. Tomorrow night's game, get your guys in there, get your lineup set. Look for the Friday edition of the matchups, and we will talk, and I will see you then. Peace!
We're on Easy Street, and it feels so sweet, 'cause the world is but a treat.